Hey everyone, Corey here coming in to do the energy update for the week of October the 7th, all the way through until the 14th, which is my dad's birthday. Um, but this one's actually being recorded on the 8th. I was channeling through this yesterday, and then for some reason I have not been able to get it recorded earlier today. Same thing, it would not record. But here we are. So first and foremost, my prayers are with those being affected by the hurricane in the United States, and with the oncoming hurricane that is coming into Florida. My just pray that it doesn't have the impact as the last one had. We pray for peace and healing in our world in such a big way. We need it. And so there is this energy that is speaking to me. And when I was seeing these hurricanes, something is off in these hurricanes. It doesn't appear the way that I would have seen it previously before. There's something that is just in there, and I can't really pinpoint it, but there's something different about these. And of course, they are having big impacts. They are catastrophic in so many ways. So I'm sensing this hurricane. I'm feeling this hurricane, but let me go back and just kind of travel through the energy I was feeling today and what I was picking up today. What they use my environment to kind of give me a way to be able to explain this energy, because it's hard to bring down to human words. It's hard to bring it down and condense it into our little tiny words of how to make this make sense, or how to see it as colorful as what it is being revealed to me. And so all morning, it was just like there was this hope of this beautiful sunny day, and it was supposed to be, according to my forecast, on my phone, it's supposed to be this 21-degree day, Celsius. We're in Canada, but this dooming cloud, this cloud cover was right over the center part of where I live, and it didn't leave all day. There was no wind. It was as if the cloud was stagnant. It was stuck. It was just this cloud covered area, but all around it, all I could see was blue sky. And I'm like, well, how come that blue sky is not rolling? How come that cloud is not rolling away and revealing the blue sky that's underneath this? Why will that not move and let us see this light? And it was probably about 3 o'clock, and I start to notice that the clouds start to move. You start to see the difference, and you start to finally lift. And then it was probably around 6 o'clock, and there was this stillness, this odd stillness. And I know when we get that stillness that is so creepy still, when nothing is moving, there's not a breeze, and it's just energy. The air feels dense. When we get those, I always say that's always a calm before the storm. And so there was this kind of calm before the storm. And it so makes sense to what is happening with the hurricane, what is happening on a world scale, that we've had, like we're having these moments of where we get this breathing room, and then we get this clouded vision again, and then it begins again. And we've been going in this cycle constantly. So it's as if we're lacking consistency. Nothing is consistent. Nothing is really real predictable. There is a real strong level of unpredictability, that we don't know what's coming. We don't know what's next. We have signs, we can see things, or we know what's coming, but we don't notice severity, right? We just don't notice severity. But we're also seeing this. So I'm speaking macro first, right? On the big scale. And then, and we're also seeing this energy that kind of puts the fixation in. So it brings in a level of fixation, being very fixated, being very obsessed, being very blindsided. Fixation, obsession blinds us to truth. It doesn't leave any room for another perspective or another view. It closes us off, and we get very trapped and stuck in that one arena, and we can't move beyond there. And it's kind of like, it's kind of as if I'm watching like a gladiator movie, right? It's like you have all of this outside cheering on, but they're cheering on this fight energy in a way of seeing these gladiators go to war with each other. And it's as if we are bearing witness to all of this outside world throwing little digs, little sparks of um, of information out there, and it's causing this war and this battle between the everyday people in the everyday world. And it's always, and so it's just like we're experiencing this, and we're experiencing this on such a big level. So we're seeing this everywhere. And so and so all of this is happening, all this happening on macro level. And today what I was noticing was, I'm like, why do I even want to record? Why do I even want to record? Like, what else is there for me to speak about? What else do I say? And I felt myself, for a little speck of time, I felt that sense of my energy, in the wheelhouse of the collective energy. I felt this sense of losing hope. And I sat with that for a while, and I thought, is that really my energy? Is that really how I feel? Or is that what I'm picking up? And it's hard to stay on the faith train when so much is coming at us in such a massive, overwhelming way, that it's easy to begin to lose hope. And so for that split second, I could feel this collective energy of hope fading, of losing that sense of hope, of massive defeat, and feeling defeated and deflated. So you may be feeling that energy. You may be feeling that deflated energy. You may be feeling like, how much more do I have to do? And so how does it reveal itself to us? And it's that, so bringing it into the from macro into micro, bringing it from this big energy out here into ourselves, is you may be finding yourself being very aware, or coming back into your awareness, the things that you can become obsessed about, that you can get fixated on. It could be such things as body image. It can be such things as having to perfect everything. It can be old habits coming back in. It could be returning through a way of the past that you had worked hard on to move beyond. It could be feeling that desperation desire. So you start chasing things just because you're feeling desperate, and you're feeling like, oh my God, I got to get going. I got to be doing this. And so you find yourself being motivated by fear, and feeling the presence of that fear coming in is getting you in this frame of mind, this mindset that, oh, time is running out. I have to get this done now. It reminds me of the Mad Hatter. I feel like this is the energy of like the Mad Hatter. That's what it feels like. There's a level of the madness that is in it, that if we could only see the madness for what it really is, because there's no way this is sane. There's no way this there's no way this can be normalized as a normal way to exist, or a normal way for us to behave, because there's just so many things in our energy right now that are so far out there and so far-fetched. But that also means that we're so close to endings. So it requires a level of patience. And sometimes we have to, instead of becoming obsessed, we must, and fixated, is that it requires a level of patience. It requires a level of rest, reset, so that things can pass through, or it's a charge through the storm time. Depends, right? But it is these times are really going to clear the air, and these times will clear the air, and things are going to really truly be revealed. But revealing things don't ever mean that it makes a change, because there is such a fixation on being right versus doing the right thing on a macro scale, on a big scale. The fixation on doing what is on being right versus doing what is right is the thing that has got us caught up in such chaos. And you see it on a political scale, you see it on a personal scale, you see it in civilization, you see it everywhere. You see it in religions, you see it in spirituality. I don't care where it is, but you are seeing it everywhere. You are seeing that. And why do we see it? It's because it is that powerful, I want to say that imitation light is what I call it, that Luciferian light, that sense of Jezebel, I call it, that light that appears so big and so bright and so powerful, and that it's all good, it's all going to do good, but it is here to influence and affect our material world. And it affects us when we sit in that choice to choose to be caught up in something and be fixated, to become obsessed, rather than allowing ourselves to see a deeper truth, to heal the deeper wound. How deep are we willing to go to heal the depths of our wounds? How deep do we need to go? And we need to go a long way back and to release some lies that we either tell ourselves, or some lies that we believe about the past that has such a hold on us. Now, on a macro level, bringing that back into the minor, back into the micro, back into ourselves, is that you may be feeling that, you may be feeling that power, you may be tempted in these times, so great temptations. And you may also be so fixated on something that you're not able to see anything else. And so this could be happening in a relationship, could be happening in a family, that you may be so caught up in that, the energy, you may be listening to a lot of astrological reports, or a lot of zodiac messages for your sign that's based on a collective energy. And it may be saying things to you such as, oh, your relationship is in trouble. There's something happening in your relationship that you need to pay attention to. But you forget, or you neglect to think that this is a collective energy. If you have done the work and you've already healed and resolved that area, then why do you believe that it would have to be you again? It's taking everything personally, and not everything is a personal message. Everything is a suggestion of what is there. And so if we could live in the power of this, these are suggestions, and these are the things that we're hearing, these are the things that we're feeling, but what resonates with me? And just lost some breath. And so if we can sit and be able to sit in the pause of the silence, to be able to feel through what is real for me. And so reality, everyone, including every person inside of your home, whether it's 2-year-old to 30-year-old, you are all existing in a different reality. It's all based upon your ability to be able to perceive your connection that you make, the knowledge that you have, the wisdom, the age that you have, and your ability to be able to use discernment to connect to certain things. And children know things at face value. Whatever you tell them is what they believe, and they believe it to be on the basic level of what they understand. It becomes more complex as we age, and so there's a complexity in our ability to be able to communicate. Why? Because even what I'm even saying here, not one person is hearing it the same way. It depends on your connection, your relationship to the words, to what is being spoken, or to the tone of the voice that the channels are using to bring the message through. You may find it to be peaceful. Someone else might find it fearful. Someone else might be annoyed by it. Someone else might be curious. It's everyone is receiving it different, and everyone has a different perspective. We are all existing in a different reality. And when we can accept that and we can understand that, is that how do we find the common ground? There is aspects about us. There is emotional bases that do have a more neutral space and a neutral place to exist. And the more that we can come back to center, to be able to use discernment, if the light, if something feels too good, if something feels too bright, if we are too laser focused, if we are too obsessed, then we are not in balance. We are not in alignment. So you may be finding those old things coming back in an old habit, an old way, maybe even an old relationship. Maybe that's something of the past that you just keep harping on, such as, such things as like the twin flame stories. And you're like, oh, I've been 30 years, I've been thinking about this person and I can't let them go. No, you choose not to. You're romanticizing about something, and there's something in there you are romanticizing about, or they are. So you hold the line. There is some sort of cord of attachment. And so when we become attached, when we dig our heels in, when we become attached, we have no room for freedom. We have no room for growth, because all we are obsessed about is getting to one specific outcome, or about keeping some sort of story or life alive, right? It's like we have all of this. And so if we can backtrack it and look back, let's just say that the whole experience of the love of your life from 30, 40 years ago, and they were the love of my life, and that was my best relationship, and this and that, is that if you were to look back with honest eyes and heart, if you were to look back with a wide open perspective and view, like a kaleidoscope, and you start moving that story around and you start bending it another direction besides the way that you have bent it to make it something that created your little fairy tale, or the truth that you held on to, or the so-called love that probably was never ever love. It was fixation, it was obsessions, it was unmet needs and desires. And sometimes we're trying to get our needs met in areas that are never ever going to meet our needs. So we're always yearning, we're always hungry, we're always not really in the sense of being satisfied. So we feel like we don't ever have an ending. We feel like there's always something missing. There's always something more. I feel like there's something more for me. The something more is in this moment. And so when we can finally move those pieces around and look at the aspects of our past that have such a hold on us, and the people and the threads and the energy of what we hold on to, and we finally can find that source to why it has stayed with us. Maybe there was a version of you in that experience that you really liked. Maybe it was never ever the relationship. Maybe it was a version of you. And maybe there was a version in you there that you actually really loved, that you liked, and it made you very happy. And so if you were to then extract that truth, that joy was not the person, it was you. That person just got to experience you in that, and maybe they sucked that joy that you did have. Maybe they took away all of that. So that energy is all here. So what came up for me today was I woke up this morning and I was doing some preparing for my class for tomorrow and channeling through the messages for here. And I just had this overwhelming desire to go into my closet, and I have all of these absolutely beautiful jeans that I've paid a fine dollar for, and they don't fit. They are from 2017, 2000. I know when I bought them, 2018, to the end of 2017, 2018, all the way into 2019. And then of course, everything else in life hit. And so that period of time was something I had worked very hard for. It was something that I had planned for. It was something that I had made a life changes and decisions for. And now none of that clothes in that closet fits. So as I opened the closet, and I've been hanging on to these racks of these jeans that I had there, and not even willing to even try them on, because I know the truth was that I realized that every time I open the closet, and even though I know this, and even though I work at this, and even though I do this work, is that little part of myself that was so fixated on holding on to that part of me, because I loved who I was in that time. I loved how I felt. I loved everything about it, about the experience of the work that I put in. But getting to know that truth, when I opened the closet doors, it was the shame. How did I get here? How did this happen? What did I do wrong? And so I could feel that energy. And that shame, when I'd open that door, I wasn't even paying attention to that it was actually shame. Because what would happen when I'd look in was my shoulders would drop and I would look at all the same clothes and I'd go through the rack. And I'm like, nothing here fits me. And so I recognized an old pattern, an old habit that had come in. And if healthy is what I want, then I can't be fixated on skinny, right? And I am someone who has had to battle my way through eating disorders, had battled my way through a lot of things that were about body image and those things in my life. And that's a reality. That's one of the aspects of the healing journey that I've had to take. And they're using my story, and I feel very vulnerable in sharing this right now. But and so I opened the closet and I just start taking out the jeans, and instead of just throwing them down, being mad, I folded them all up so nicely, and I packed them all up, and I just said, I'm done with being fixated on getting back to her, because if I were to think about the truth of that time, I remember the source of when a piece of me that I had worked so hard for died. I remember what had happened. I remembered those things. And I remember how I lost myself again. And I just thought, there's so much more to that story. And all I'm fixating on is the fact that I failed myself, that I did this. And it wasn't just that I did this. I didn't do anything really any different. But what I had to really look at was all of the other factors that had been a part. And so, looking back and folding up that clothes with absolute love was finally, I could really truly recognize that shame story. And I could see that shame story. And I could see that the last thing in the world I ever wanted was to be shamed more than I had been shamed my whole life about not being a specific size, or what I should do to get to a specific size. And so I look at the person that's here today, and I think, I wouldn't want to be anyone else but me. This girl has what this woman has achieved, what this woman has done, all of this, like, I'm proud of myself. I'm proud of her. So why do shame have such a hold? So I put all the jeans in the bag and I put them downstairs. And then I just knew where I was taking them. But as the day went on, complexity came in, doubt came in. I'm like, oh no, I'm going to drive to Red Deer and I'm going to take him to the place of where you can make money for your clothes by trading it in. I'm going to go there because I could make like $40, $50, maybe $60. Who knows? After selling these jeans, I'm going to go there. That's going to be easier. And then I'll go do this and I'll go do that and I'll go do that. And I realized that this was the second thought, third, fourth, fifth. And so I literally drove around town, weaving in and out of roads and going to go out of town, but my vehicle would not go out of town, and back again. And then all the way, finally I made it to the Castaways, which was the secondhand store. And so the thrift store. So I made my way to the thrift store, walked in with the bag, and I put it down, and there was no one at the front at the time. So I just laid it there. So I looked around and I thought, no, you're not taking home anything. You're not bringing anything home. You're just dropping things off. Leave it all behind. So I'm getting ready to leave. And when the lady's up front, and I said, hey, I left a bag of jeans here. And I said, they're all probably like 27, 28. I said, it was just, or 26, 27, 28s, maybe some 28s. And I said, so it was time for me to just drop them off here. I said, I've resigned myself to the fact that they can leave my house. And she said, I just did the same thing. I finally gave up on them. And I said, oh, I didn't give up on me. I just finally stopped shaming myself. And there's a difference. And that's in our energy right now. And so it's so easy to become so fixated that we get caught in the all or nothing again. Be very aware of the all or nothing. Be very aware of where we're putting our focus. where you are putting your focus, what you're getting so focused on that it's hard to see a clarity. Why? It's because confusion is here. And we have some very confusing times, and so we have this level of unpredictability that I'm speaking about for a while. It's hard to be able to predict things when things are so murky and cloudy, but yet we also have these spurts of beautiful light coming in, but we have massive solar flares that are happening. We have disruptions and disturbances. So there's a storm that's happening out in the universe, as there are storms that's happening on Earth, as we have the interference by human interference. And have you ever noticed the space junk that's happening out there? So we have human interference. And I always know when I go into spirit world, they say, you can't leave any of your junk. You can't bring your junk in here, right? You can't enter. There's a place, there's a veil that us humans, our human self can never enter. It's only our soul self can get to that place. Why? It's because we would get to heaven. If our ego could get to heaven, our ego would be in trying to tell God what to do with heaven. We would have a better plan. We'd have a better way of doing things. We'd have a better way of reorganize it. We would divide this group and that group. You would not be allowed to travel this area and that area. This would be closed off, and this would be for this person, and this would be here. We would all be divided. We would create chaos, because that's what our minds do when we become fixated. And because we're seeing the hypersensitivity of that energy right now, that we do have that confusion as we are coming to an end, or we're trying, or the universal energy is trying, the cosmic energy, the cosmos, the Christ light is trying to bring a death, an ending of those kinds of thinkings and that kind of way, so that we can bring more love into this world, so we can bring a more sense of balance into this world. And so from confusion to clarity, we are moving through the energies to be able to move from the confusions into the clarity. What was that closet doing? It was confusing me. Why was it confusing me? Because I would be motivated by the right things, and then I'd go to get dressed and there'd be nothing in there. Why? Because I was refusing to get anything, because I was waiting for the someday. I was waiting for the someday. And so those somedays wouldn't come. So I would wear just the things that were always bigger, always baggier, those type of things. And I have been refusing. So I've been punishing myself for something that I was so fixated on. And having that finally hit home is not that I didn't know it, but having it finally hit the spot, right? We can hear it, you can know it, you can say it, you can know it. I know, but until it actually hits, and it has to hit that right place inside of us, that it becomes like a spark that finally lights us up. And when it finally lights us up, only then are we willing to change. Only then is someone willing to move beyond the addictions, the isms, only then. But it can never be because somebody else is trying to talk you into it. It can never be, you can't shame anyone. You can never cry enough tears for somebody else to change because you want them to change. You can never cry enough tears. You can never yearn enough to bring back the story of what once was, because the moment it comes back into your life, it will never be the same, because you've placed such high expectations on what could be, that it could never be the same. Something has changed and something has shifted. For myself, I had a major back surgery in January. It changed my life. Since 2008, since 2020, 2019, 20, I'd barely been able to stand up. I can stand, I can walk, I can move. I got a whole different lease on life. But that little piece, there's always that little piece, but that's always the missing piece of the puzzle. when we can see the clear picture, when we can resonate with that deeper truth, that's when we begin to be able to see. So this is macro, micro, right? Everything that we're feeling on a bigger scale. So I feel as if the sense of, if you have been feeling that sense of, how many people have put their little daggers and stabbed you in the back? How many people have had been putting those little pins in you like a little freaking voodoo doll, right? It's like all of those actions that comes on the behalf of other people's fixations, other people's stories they tell themselves. All of that energy is also feeling as if it is being twisted and turned. So many times stories get twisted, things get twisted, people get twisted in their minds. People create a narrative and a story so that they can keep their misery, their envy, their jealousy, all of that stuff alive. And that's all present. But here's the thing that diffuses this. Call in the angels, call in those guides, call in the illumination of the true light. And the true light is not going to come and try to outshine anything else. It just simply is. And it has a power to reject. So we have a power within us, and we have a power outside of ourselves to reject anything that is being thrown at us and say, I don't have to accept that. I refuse to accept that. So on a subconscious level, what have you been accepting? What have you been allowing? Here I am at 10:30 at night, right in my time of when my fine motor skills slow down more than ever, recording this, but I feel the passion. I feel as if this is almost like being called to stand up and preach a little bit here. But they're just like, now is the time. Now is the time. When is the right time to make a change? Now. When is the right time to open our hearts? Now. When's the right time to open our eyes? Now. Right now. To feel that inspiration, to feel that call, to feel that pull, to feel like you don't need to be placing any more resistance upon yourself, because there is such a resistance here. And that if we remove the resistance, we allow the flow, but we also don't have to keep accepting that which is time for us to reject outside of ourselves and within ourselves. So really pay attention to that this month. Be aware of that this month, and allow yourself to really sit back and be patient with yourself, and allow patience to be what you practice, and to allow it to guide you through. Sid got no patience tonight. I send you so much love this week. Have a beautiful week, in all ways that you can. Be the beauty, be the light, be the glowing, shiny star wherever you can in a world that is not always shining right now. So, but there is light, there is love. Everything good does exist here, the same way all the other things exist. We just need to bring it into balance. I send you much love. Bye-bye.